If you like my videos, don't forget to follow me on social media to keep up to date with all the latest news regarding my channel and my content. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe below or at the end of the video. Don't forget to check out my brand new Amazon store, filled with recommendations on Blu-rays, DVDs, books, and other media featured in my videos. G'day guys, Dave Lee coming at you once again from Down Under with another movie review. Apologies if I sound a little bit stuffy today, I'm just coming off the back of like a little bit of a head cold thing. Feeling okay, but as they say, the show must go on, so we're gonna just power through this review here today. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the latest home media release from Entertainment One. Directed by Kathryn Bigelow and starring John Boyega, Anthony Mackie, Will Poulter, and Algee Smith, it is Detroit. Detroit is based on a true story, which takes place during the 1967 12th Street Detroit race riot, one of the bloodiest and most destructive riots in American history. The movie opens with the beginning of the riots, which erupted when white police officers raided an African-American after-hours unlicensed bar. The pure brutality of the police officers during the raid led to a 5-day-long riot, which saw the city's vast African-American populace looting and rebelling against the police force, who in turn reacted with brute force. Throughout the riots, police mercilessly bashed and killed, as well as wrongfully imprisoned rioters. Meanwhile, troops from the National Guard and combat squadrons were also deployed, turning the city of Detroit into a literal war zone. The movie is not so much focused on the riot itself, but on an event that occurred during it, which saw police officers storm the Algiers hotel, where they held and beat a group of black males and 2 white females during a brutal interrogation after believing they heard gunshots from the building. Of all the reviews I have done for this channel so far, Detroit has proven to be the hardest one to put together. As a movie, Detroit is brilliant, but as a true story, it's absolutely heartbreaking and incredibly upsetting. This is certainly not an easy movie to watch, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. Kathryn Bigelow has proved in the past that she's not afraid to show the dark side of humanity through her previous 2 directorial efforts, The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. In fact, these 3 movies are all so strikingly similar in tone, style, and narrative that they almost form their own spiritual trilogy. Stylistically, Detroit takes on the same approach as Bigelow's previous 2 movies. Handheld cinematography is blended so seamlessly with real-life footage which is interspersed throughout the movie, giving it this documentary feel, almost like you're watching the real events unfold in front of your eyes. Thematically, it takes on a very similar style too, and Detroit comes in under a very small handful of movies which I've actually found incredibly hard to watch. This movie is not only emotionally stirring, but it's kind of emotionally draining as well. It's intense, confronting, and made me as a viewer feel incredibly uncomfortable while watching it. But that is kind of the exact point of this movie. It's not here to make a statement, really. It's here to put you right there at that moment in time to experience these issues firsthand as if you were really there, and it helps you gain a greater sympathy for these people and these events that happened in the past. While these events are terrible, the execution of these to the screen it's superb. It's incredibly rare these days to find a movie that is so emotionally charged and gripping, and in doing so, Kathryn Bigelow continues to prove that she is one of the best directors we have in this modern age. Not too long into the movie, I realized that Detroit is not just another biopic, it's not just another historical movie, but more than anything else, it's a war film. Watching these events unfold, I felt the same sense of unease as I did when I first watched Platoon or Apocalypse Now, or of course Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. Detroit could almost be described as the Hurt Locker in the suburbs, especially given that the whole city was so swarmed with army personnel and tanks, and those brutal interrogation techniques that were undertaken by police officers, most of whom were actually Vietnam vets, were kind of interrogation techniques you would most likely only see in a war, All of this boiled down to Detroit being a literal war zone. With this, Bigelow brings her war film pedigree to Detroit and executes it perfectly. This movie kicks into action from its very opening scene and grabs a hold of you and squeezes tighter and tighter and tighter, barely giving you a chance to breathe throughout the entire movie. But in the very few moments where the movie actually does slow down a little bit, we get these really wonderful character moments where we actually get to see the real life impact on the inhabitants of this city. Bigelow and writer Mark Boal truly do bring a really wonderful spotlight to these characters who we as an audience can actually connect with in a very, very short space of time, which is something that's actually really rare to be able to do in a movie. And that said, it makes this movie even more confronting when we lose these characters not long after we've actually formed a connection with them. Though it may sound like it, that is not a spoiler at all. This movie focuses on a really brutal time in history in which 43 people were killed in the space of 5 days. So it goes without saying that this movie is going to include multiple deaths. That is just the unfortunate and inescapable reality of this movie. If you're going into this movie expecting a happy ending, you're going to walk out of it incredibly disappointed. While the entire cast of this movie is fantastic, each one bringing a sense of realism to their character, which really helps make the movie what it is. For me, there were personally two standout performers. John Boyega brings his usual charm to the movie as a national security guard, Dismukes, who attempts to assist in the situation, finding himself torn between his fellow officers and his African-American brethren. Boyega delivers his best, most stirring, most heart-wrenching performance yet, kicking it up a notch from what we've ever seen him do before. I feel like this movie finally gave Boyega a chance to display his full dramatic talent. Poulter delivers a horrifying portrayal of a racist and violent officer, a character who seems to take enjoyment in the brutality he brings to his job. While a terrible role and a terrible character, Poulter's performance is stirring and gripping. A lot of the movie's racial tension rests on his shoulders, and without such an intense character and performance, the movie would have struggled to make an impact or a statement. There weren't a great deal of issues that I had with this movie. There were a very, very minimal amount of moments where the movie just it slows down a little bit and deviates from kind of the main plot of the movie. But these moments are over so fast that it doesn't really impact on the overall film too much. At just under 2.5 hours, I feel Detroit comes in at the perfect runtime. It's one of those movies that makes 2.5 hours feel like an hour, which is always a sign of a really, really great movie. I personally tend to judge movies on how rewatchable they are, how much rewatch value they have for me personally. Detroit is a movie that I honestly don't see myself revisiting, especially anytime soon. This is a very uneasy movie to watch, and I feel like one that would take great strength to be able to build up the energy to watch it again. Perhaps again though, that is the point of this movie, and for that the movie does serve its purpose. However, in contrast to this, I can watch Apocalypse Now and Platoon over and over and over again, no matter how uneasy they make me feel while I watch it. As a whole, I personally don't think Detroit quite reaches the heights of those two movies, but I would find it in the same league as other racial tension movies such as Mississippi Burning or In the Heat of the Night. With Detroit, Bigelow doesn't deliver the greatest movie ever made, but does deliver her best movie so far. With that, I would award Detroit with a very easy 4 stars out of 5. Detroit is a superb movie focusing on truly horrific events. It's a movie that feels real and stirs true, intense and confronting emotions through its narrative and thematic styles, fantastic performances and racial messages. Detroit is by no stretch an easy watch, but as a tribute to those who died and a celebration of the strength of those who survived, Detroit deserves to be watched by everyone at least once. Thanks once again to my amazing friends over at Entertainment One for providing me with a copy of Detroit for the purposes of this review. In Australia, Detroit is now available to purchase on both Blu-ray and DVD and is distributed by Entertainment One. It is also available via Entertainment One in the UK and via 20th Century Fox in the United States. And at that, thank you once again for joining me for another movie review. If you're a first-time viewer of my channel, you've enjoyed this review and you'd like to see more like this in the future, hopefully I won't be so stuffy in future reviews, then please at the end of the video give me some support and hit that big old subscribe button up on your screen. To all my regular viewers, thank you once again for joining me, and to absolutely everybody out there, don't forget to hit that like button down below because it does a great deal in getting my videos out there. Look guys, I hope I'll see you all again soon. Until next time though, take care and I hope you have a wonderful day.